Strap yourself in and get ready. The leaders in BBL Supercoach are incoming. Running in off the back fence to give you the ultimate insight to help you dominate your mates and climb up in the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight BBL Show with your hosts, Brain and Horse.
Yes, g'day guys. Welcome back to another Insight BBL Show. I am the Supercoach Brain, joined by my co-host, the Supercoach Horse. Mate, how are you going? Phil Hughes, 10 years today.
Yeah, it's a bit sad, isn't it? But at the same time, it's nice to sort of remember all the good things that he did for Australian cricket. He was so young, and who can ever forget that first knock in South Africa, where he knocked up 100 against the likes of Morne Morkel, Dale Steyn, Mackay Nantini. Like, he was just, he took on the world, and like the world was his oyster.
Yeah, he was so good, man. I had the pleasure of getting to have a few interactions with him at different academies and trainings and things like that. But yeah, real sad, obviously, when it happened. But it's nice to remember all of the good things over the last 10 years as well. But mate, we've got plenty to talk about on this episode, don't we? You know, this episode's a little bit of a different one. We've kind of moved away from the normal positional analysis and team deep dives and things like that. We're actually doing an episode on undervalued players. So we're looking at horse players that are severely underpriced based on their career average, I guess I could say.
Yeah, I don't mind this. You were the one that came up with this idea, and after looking through a few players, there is a lot of value out there where their starting price may not scream value to start with, but you look behind the scenes, you look at prior history, and was last year just a once-off where they may have shit the bed, so to speak? And is there a bounce-back season? We've got 10 players that we're going to bring up in today's episode that we think may have a bounce-back season this year and that are undervalued.
For sure. And that's where you make your cash as well. We've talked a lot about how important cash generation is to get your team to a certain team value so that you can make the moves that you need to make at the back end of the season. But we're going to go through 10 players, so we'll tackle that. But guys, before we do, like and subscribe. We'd appreciate that. Follow, review if you're listening to us on audio, and follow us on social media. We're on X, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok as Insight Fantasy Sports, and we're on Instagram at Insight BBL. So go over there. We're posting daily, and we've got plenty more content coming to you in the coming days and weeks in the lead up to BBL 14. And of course, we've got our unlimited group horse. We've just got a little bit over 300 people in there now, which is great. So we can keep getting people in there. You get a chance to win a Supercoach Champions ring if you take out the league, and also if you get the top score every single week, you get to win yourself a standard squeeze pack thanks to our sponsors, the Standard Squeeze. The code is 650202. Jump on in, take us on, see if you can beat us, and I'm sure that we'll hear about it if they do knock us off.
How much does it cost to enter?
It doesn't cost a thing.
And you win free shit.
Free shit.
What are you waiting for, ladies and gentlemen? Get involved. Right. I love free shit.
Rip in.
Yeah.
And thanks to the Standard Squeeze and SC Rings for getting involved as well for the prizes. Now, let's rip in, mate. Let's talk number 10. We'll kick things off and we'll go in reverse order because we can't give you the good shit straight away. You know, we need to drag it out a little bit, make it suspenseful. So we'll talk about number 10 on the list, and we're talking about the amount of value that this player has in comparison to previous years. And that's Riley Meredith from the Hobart Hurricanes. 83,400 he's priced at this year. Now, we do remember, before I dive into him, obviously that they've had to dilute the scoring a little bit because they've added the extra roster player in the flex position, so that everybody's copped a little bit of a decrease in price. The magic number has gone down technically this year, so everybody will be at a tiny discount. But when we're talking discounts, we're talking $54,000 worth of value horse in Riley Meredith. What are your thoughts on him initially?
I like it. In previous years, he's averaged close to 45, and he's priced at a 28 at the moment. So you think, or when I think of Riley Meredith, you think quick action, nice and tall, 150 Ks upwards at times when he's got his back up. He really does get him through, which can hurry the batsman up, which can lead to wickets or mistimed shots leading to catches.
Yeah, that's right. I think that the downside for Riley Meredith, and we'll call it the Sydney Thunder syndrome, where the Hobart Hurricanes struggled last year and he didn't really have tons to bowl at.
No.
They never really put a huge total on the board because their top order kind of struggled at times last year. So he didn't have much to bowl at. Batsmen could take less risks against a guy like Riley Meredith. When you have to force the pace against a guy like him, he's bound to be in the game pretty much all the time. So pretty much a consistent, like you mentioned, 45 plus kind of player at 28. And when we're talking about $3,200 per point, and that's how we calculated this, there's plenty of cash on the table there to take with him. The only issue is, and the only reason why I believe he's not 50% owned or 40% owned at least, is just the schedule sucks.
For the second year in a row, Hobart have copped a really ordinary schedule.
Which is frustrating because there are some great options there in Nathan Ellis as well. You know, Chris Jordan would probably be most owned player in the game.
100%.
You know, we'd be talking about Ben McDermott a lot more than we are at the moment. So, like, there's some actual really relevant Supercoach players. There's one more that we'll mention in this list very soon. But, you know, when we look at Riley Meredith, he took 21 wickets in BBL 12 and only 7 last year. So if that sums it up, it gives you a ceiling on what he could potentially bring to the table. I'm pretty excited to see what he can do at the start of this season. It's just the schedule, unfortunately, doesn't suit him. But if you're someone that's looking for a point of difference, he could be your man off the bench.
Yeah, 100%. I really like that pick, which leads into our next player at number 9, Nath, and that's Paddy Dooley from the Hobart Hurricanes. So we're looking at someone from the same team at $88,000. So 2 seasons prior to last year, he was averaging around 47, and he's currently priced at a 29. So he burst on the scene in BBL 12, didn't he? With, I can't remember what his average was. It was around 60 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was huge. He was the guy that everybody was basically scrambling to get after he had those first couple of games where he went real big. 64.6 was that season average in BBL 12. That was that cult hero Paul Walter status kind of stuff with the Hooly Dooly a couple of years ago. And then he followed that up with a sub 30 average in BBL 13. So that's where we get the massive discount there. Obviously, we've only really seen one of these really big seasons from him. So there's less of a track record, I guess, for high scores. But he's that kind of player, isn't he? He just finds wickets.
He does. He does. And I think he may have been a victim of the same syndrome as Riley Meredith, and as you called it not a couple of minutes ago, the Sydney Thunder syndrome, where they just didn't have the runs on the board to be able to be that fine line or find that fine line between being attacking but also preserving runs. So in BBL 12, he did take 19 wickets, and he got his economy rate bonus in 75% of the games that he played in. That can't be ignored.
No, and he's pretty tough to get away. He's pretty tricky. So, you know, he got a lot of different variations, you know, really good with changing his pace up too. He's really hard to kind of get consistently underneath. So he bowls a really good length and, you know, that quicker one that comes through is pretty tough.
Have you seen the one, how he bowls it and it comes out of the front of the hand? It's kind of like
it's like a deuce.
Yeah. It'd be really hard to pick too.
Yeah, that's it. When you got that many variations, I don't know whether he knows what he's going to bowl next, let alone what the batsman thinks is coming. But yeah, very tricky guy. And you know, look, 88K. I think there's maybe you know your Zampers that are obviously much better picks than someone like Paddy Dooley to start just due to the double game week. But in saying that, I think I don't hate the idea of getting one of these guys we've just talked about, either Meredith or Dooley, and having them on your bench as an emergency to start the season, just to make a bit of cash, because it is going to be important to make that money early on too, like we mentioned at the start of the episode, mate. But
100%.
Let's move on to number 8 on the list, and a guy that we've been talking up a lot over the last month or so is Tom Rogers from the Renegades. He's at 117,500, so that's pretty much right on that kind of second tier import price horse. And there's 57.9 is his average over the last 2 seasons combined, and he's only priced at a 39. Yeah,
we both agree that there's absolute value here with Tom Rogers, not to be mistaken by the Tom Rogers that's at the Stars. But for the last 3 seasons, he's been a really solid performer. Last year, he had near on a 20-point dip in his production, having only taken 8 wickets in 9 games. You compare that to 21 wickets he took in BBL 12 and 18 in BBL 11. I reckon there's a fair chance there's a bounce back season here.
I'm really hoping so. Like, he's a guy that's been in and out of my team a fair bit at the moment. But everybody in the Patreon will know what my team looks like right now. But like the one thing I do think we need to consider are that there were more rounds available in BBL 12 and 11. So he did play more games. So they have shortened the seasons down recently. But in saying that, I don't really care about that too much. I think there's realistically, if he only took 8 wickets in 9 games, this guy's a 12 to 15 wickets per BBL campaigner, I think, especially with such a good schedule to start. And he's actually quite low owned. I think he'd be sub 15% owned at the moment, Tom Rogers. I reckon even sub 10%. So he's a guy that we should be looking at. And I mean, if you're a Kane Richardson truther and you like the idea of Kane Richardson, and sure, I'd probably go with him over the price. But if you're not convinced on Kane Richo like I am, you'd be looking at a guy like Tom Rogers, and you can probably make cash from him knowing that there's about $60,000 worth of value here.
Yeah, I agree. Can't argue with that at all.
So, he could be 170, 180K guy. And that's based on the numbers of what he's been able to produce in BBL 12 and 11 after having a bit of a lean season last year. So these are the kind of guys that we're looking at in this list.
Oh, and that first round double as well, it does scream value for Renegades bowlers as well.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Mate, number 7 on the list, Matty Renshaw. We've talked about him a fair bit as well. We talked about him in the batting episode that was only just released today. 68K for a guy that used to open the batting test cricket. I mean, there could be a chance he bowls as well. I don't feel 100% confident about that, but there's every chance with Nathan McSweeney out now that he comes up and bats 3. So,
yep. And he has been known to open the bowling as well with his offies.
Yeah, gets them through. I think they're looking for a guy that gets through their overs really quickly. And we've known that Swepson and Kuhneman don't necessarily do that at that pace. So if they want to get through a couple of really quick overs to kind of hurry up the opening batsman, Matt Renshaw is probably the guy that's going to bowl the opening over as opposed to Kuhneman or Swepson. So I don't mind it. 2-season average of 44.5. Matty Renshaw, he's, I think, 5 of his past 6 seasons, he has averaged over 42. And we're coming off a season last year where he's priced at a 23 and a pretty ordinary season last year. So that round 3 double, he's a guy you could stash on your bench and use as a bit of a bat emergency to start things off that'll make you some money.
Yeah, I really like it. And they've got the early double too. So if he is playing well, not only are you going to get some cash production, but you've got a player waiting for that round 3 double, is it? Where you can just slot him in and hope for the best.
Yeah, that's right. So the 4 guys that we've talked about, they're the bottom 4 of this list, 7 through to 10. But I think there's a tremendous value in these guys, especially when you're looking at Tom Rogers, who has that double in round 1. Those are the guys that we're looking at. I currently at the moment have about 9 guys on the double in round 1 from the Stars and the Renegades in my team. And I'd be very surprised if people don't have at least 6 or 7. He's a guy you can look at.
Tom Rogers is only 6% owned.
Oof. Big pod territory. We'll be doing an episode on pods and anti-pods soon as well. So that's I'm sure we'll see him feature in that list.
Spicy.
But of course, guys, the show today is brought to you by The Standard Squeeze. They're helping you drink responsibly and conveniently. You can go to thestandardsqueeze.com. Use the code IFS15, get yourself 15% off. They just had their Friday, Black Friday sale as well.
They did 50% off everything.
Huge.
So, horse loaded up.
Yeah, absolutely. So did I. Yeah. I've got my 4-in-1 here, and it's even the one that he engraved for us. It says Braino on the front with our old logo when we used to be Molten Fantasy Sports. So
that's nearly 2 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's I make sure that one's nice and clean, ready to go for every podcast I do. But you can also get the combo packs on there that give you the perfect pour every single time. It measures the perfect little nip and saves you having to get glass bottles and take them camping or fishing or sneak them into sporting events. Not that we condone that kind of stuff, but if you are that way inclined, chuck it in your back skyrocket and you're good to go. IFS 15. Go to standardsqueeze.com. Look after him. Mate, let's move on. Sean Abbott, number 6. And look, I knew we're going to start getting into the thick of things now with these options. Sydney 6 is round 3 double, 131,000. But we're talking about a current premium price guy that we're getting priced at a 44 after a 2-season average of 67.3.
Yeah, spot on. At the top of the episode, you touched on Phil Hughes and the 10-year anniversary. I thought for this guy would have had a lot of, some people gave him a bit of a hard time to start off with. You know, for me, like it's a heavy burden to carry on one's shoulders. And he's been a really good cricketer and a really good servant of cricket in Australia for the past 10 years, even more than that. He's making runs, he's making wickets, he's an all-round good bloke. Feel bad for the bloke, but at the same time, he's held his head high, you know, at the same time, put his head down, worked his ass off, and he's been a really good cricketer for a long time.
Yeah, props to Sean Abbott. You know, I was lucky enough to room with Sean for a couple of seasons at the academy. So I know Sean really well. We came up together in the state squad really early on when we were 19, 20. And how he handled himself through all of that was huge. You could see him get quite emotional today when they were doing the minute silence as well. So thoughts go out to Sean. Some of the comments I've seen online are fucking putrid. Like I saw an episode, the Sydney Sixers preview episode that we did. I had to delete a couple of comments on there because it's just disgusting. So, like, if you're thinking that a comment like that about him, you know, I'm not going to mention him, but if you think that it's the right thing to do, you probably shouldn't. We're happy for you to go and watch other podcasts, I think, because it's just not on. So
no, it's not.
But let's talk about his cricketing ability, mate, because there's $72,000 of value in Sean Abbott's price right now. He is a 200K guy based on previous seasons. He only took 7 wickets last year in BBL 13 as well. So if we compare this to the 25 wickets that he took the season before that, if he can get anywhere close to what he did in BBL 12, he's a guy that will be a must-have by round 3.
And there's no current to still death overs from him either.
That's a really good point.
He's starting in my side.
He's huge effort. I think I'm going to try and aim to get him in round 3. I'm 100% on board with starting with him if that's the direction you want to go. I'm going in a bit of a different direction because there's a couple of guys that have emerged that I'd prefer at the moment. But in saying that, I'm never going to talk you out of starting with Sean Abbott this year at that price because it's like the Kane Richardson situation, isn't it? Where
it is.
Premium from years past, had a bad year. These are the guys that we jump on top of and make sure that we take it to the bank. So Sean Abbott, get him in your team at some point. The next one, mate, I don't like talking about this guy, but somehow he's made it onto the list.
Mark Steckety. Yeah. The absolute bowler machine that is Mark Steckety. 79K he's priced at. 2-season average of almost 50, 49.7, but he's currently priced at a 27. You can't ignore the numbers, but geez, no. Sorry.
I don't like it. I don't like it. We're always going to make sure that we come to you with the numbers, right? And somehow he's made the list. There's $72,000 of value in Mark Steckety if he can find that form that he had previously. He only took 1 wicket last year. In the first game that he played, he got absolutely fucking put to all parts. And that's why I call him the bowling machine, because he served up some absolute tripe in the games that he played last year. But in saying that, previous to last season, he scored 38.3, a 61, and a 49.1 across 8-game seasons. So, look, he'll play the first round double. He's cheap. He'll probably get his overs. The problem is he won't bowl death because Stars have Curran and Paris. So I don't love the role, and I'm not picking him personally. I'm not advocating for him, but look, I understand why he's a little bit more owned than the others.
I understand to a degree, but you're talking about a bowling machine. In that first game, they played in Perth, hard, fast, bouncy wicket against class cricketers like Aaron Hardy, Finn Allen, list goes on. Yeah,
hopefully Josh Inglis.
Yeah, hopefully. It just doesn't jump out the page of me. Yes, they are on the double, but it doesn't matter if they're on the double if you get smacked all parts and not taking wickets.
Yeah, it's a tough place to go and bowl. Not to mention the travel to Perth can be quite taxing on the quicks, I think. You know, that 4 to 5 hour plane trip isn't exactly an easy trip.
No.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it, but he's on the list. He's number 5 on the list as the 5th most valuable player or underpriced player this year. So, hey, you take that with a grain of salt if you want, or you can run with it and hopefully he does well. The number 4 on the list is Kane Richardson, and a really good option, a popular option. He's at 97,000. Sub 100K for a guy of his pedigree is always someone you need to be looking at. 55.8 over the previous 2 seasons before last year, and currently priced at 33 horse. So, like, I understand why people are picking him, but are there some concerns for you?
Yeah, there's some massive concerns. 1, 34-year-old fast bowler. So we know with fast bowlers, Father Time can catch up with them quicker than, let's say, a batsman or a spinner. When we're talking Kane Richardson, BBL 11 and BBL 12, he took 19 wickets. BBL 13, only 6 wickets. For me, you got the likes of Tom Rogers, you've got the likes of Fergus O'Neill, Adam Zampa. You can't carry 3 quicks and a spinner from the Renegades alone into round 1. For me, it's a no. Yeah,
I think that I would prefer Fergus O'Neill or Tom Rogers over Kane Richardson, and maybe that sounds crazy, but I'm concerned about his body. I'm concerned about the extensive injury history that Kane Richardson had over the past couple of years. It's not rare, but he will miss a double every now and again. Maybe in round 1, I doubt it because he's fresh. But round 4, if he's had his workloads increased throughout that period of time, maybe he doesn't play both games in that double with the short turnaround.
Did you know that he's only played 1 game of cricket since February? Yeah,
I saw that. I was looking up his stats from trying to kind of put together a bit of a case as to why we should fade him, if I'm completely honest. But it's 5 games total since last BBL. Mm-hmm. And that's a major concern for me. No Shield cricket, obviously, he's winding down from a workload perspective. But yeah, just the lack of cricket is a big concern for me. So, you know, if you're hoping that this is going to be a benefit that he's fresh, great. I just don't love the pick. I'd probably prefer Fergus O'Neill, or I'd prefer Tom Rogers. You can pick either of those guys over Kane Richardson for me.
For sure, mate. Number 3 is one that we both like. Henry Thornton from the Adelaide Strikers, coming in at 98K. So he had a 2-season average of 57.4 Braino, and he's currently priced at a 33. Did you own him when he scored that massive 260 in round 1 of BBL 12?
No, I didn't. And thanks for reminding me about that, because it literally set me back. I think I finished maybe 500th or something. And that could have been the difference for me actually competing in that year. But yeah, look, anybody who had him in round 1 will remember it. Anyone who didn't will remember it. I think everybody who plays Supercoach would remember how good Henry Thornton was to start that season. I'm just hoping for a little bit of the same. He doesn't need to be as good, but I'd love him to be something close. And the big benefit for me is that no David Payne.
Spot on.
And no Wes Agar.
No, Wes Agar.
There's
That's
much less
big one.
competition, much less competition for him at the Strikers this year. I feel like he's going to be the guy that they go to a fair bit to bowl the death overs. Yes, he can go for some runs. I think we need to expect that. We're not looking for an economy rate bonus from Henry Thornton. We're looking for wickets. So that is what I'll be picking him for.
Yeah, he's an attacking bowler. And when you've got the likes of Chris Lynn, Matt Short, Darcy Short, Weatherald when he's seen them well, they've got potentially one of the best batting lineups in the BBL. So if they can get away and get their 180, 190 on the board, it'll just let Henry Thornton go absolutely nuts and be as attacking as he can be.
100%. And add in Ollie Pope in round 2 as well, strengthens up that batting, that top order as
Fabian
well.
Allen as well, down below.
Alex Carey at the back end of the season when the tests are done. They're going to compete, I think, the Strikers like they do every single year. And I tell you what, if they get some runs on the board, Henry Thornton's going to be the guy that's going to benefit from that. So let's hope, because I'm sure he's going to be pretty popular by the time BBL starts. Now, we should give a very special shout out to a brand new sponsor of the show, Horse. The Game Day Squad have come on board, and they're going to be sponsoring the show for the end of the season. So I'm really looking forward to working with them. I don't know about you, but I'm already addicted to Game Day Squad. Do you want to give everybody a bit of a rundown on what it's all about?
Yeah, so what you and I have been doing is going through the Game Day app, looking for players, not just for this year, but in years to come, where you can buy a card that's really cheap, hold on to that card, and then their card increases in value. So, like, what would you say? To me, I was trying to explain this to my missus. It's like collecting basketball cards, but digitally.
Yeah, and also then those basketball cards score you points. So it's like a nice little combination between collectible cards and the fantasy sports world, where you can go and you can collect these cards, you can buy them on the marketplace, you can sell them on the marketplace and make some kind of digital money from that inside the app, and then go and buy some more. Or you can actually just kind of take a risk and buy some packs, and hopefully you pack a few cards. Like for any of you gamers out there that have played any My Team formats on Madden or NBA 2K or anything like that, it's very similar. Or FIFA. Very similar kind of setup where the app, you create your team. They've got 4 different levels. So you're basically based on a salary cap. Each player that you have is worth a certain amount of your salary cap. There's 4 different types of cards as well. 5 different types of cards. You've got your bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and diamond cards. There's also legend 1-of-1 cards as well. So, you know, you can pack it potentially up to 6 different types of cards. Obviously, different competitions, different formats. We're going to be running our own Insight Fantasy Sports competition within the app as well that I'm excited to launch. So we'll be announcing how to get involved in that competition for free inside our Patreon. So stay tuned for that. But
and those gamers that are listening in as well, Braino, at the end of, say, 2K or FIFA, and the new game comes out, then your cards that you've purchased are obsolete. with Game Day Squad, these cards just keep ticking over year after year. They don't expire. So you don't have to worry about reloading the next year. They're your cards to keep or your cards to sell.
And I think the most important thing for me is that you actually don't have to pay any money to compete in this competition in Game Day Squad. You know, you can start off with your starter squad, all your bronze cards. You get some new bronze cards every single week that they give you to fill up your squad as well to get started. And you don't have to put any money in. If you don't want to buy cards, you don't want to buy packs, you don't have to. You can still compete in the starter level. And you can take out cash that can go towards new cards in the future as well, Horse.
Yeah, that's right. And if you put in our code, which is IFSAUS, you get a 3-player rare pack. Doesn't cost you a cent. Sign up, put that code in, and you will get 3 players of a rare variety straight into your Game Day Squad.
Pretty fucking good deal to me, I reckon. So go and download Game Day Squad and use that code. That's it. More free shit. You're welcome. But very exciting. Very exciting. We'll be working with Game Day Squad very, very closely and also creating some content. Keep an eye out on our social media. We'll create some content, some reels and stuff like that coming your way to talk to you about the best cards that you can get in your team each week. We'll be doing a team of the week as a part of our preview episode for each round as well. So stay tuned for that. But, mate, we've got a couple more players here, number 1 and number 2, to go through to finish off this list. Both very obvious options. Actually, maybe one is. Maybe the other one isn't. Number 2 is Jai Richardson. 130K. $92,000 worth of value in Jai Richo. I think we all remember when he started last year at 205K, I think it was, and the first game for Perth ended up being a washout, and everyone copped a 0 for Jai Richo and lost a ton of cash. This year, let's hope that's not the case, but he's almost a must-have guy to start the year with the round 2 double.
Oh, I think he is. Like we saw in a game a couple of days ago where he dislocated his shoulder after taking his second wicket, and we all thought, shit, he's done. But then he comes back on half an hour later and takes another wicket. So God bless the bloke who's going to have the worst arthritis in his shoulder in 10 years' time. But while he's meaningful and priced at 130K in BBL, he's got to be one of your first picked. Yeah.
Free swing. That's what, when you can get a guy of this quality at 130K, priced at a 43, the 2-season average before that's 72. So there's nearly 30 points of value in Jai Richardson. That should be enough. Only 6 wickets last year compared to the 15 that he took in BBL 12 in only 6 games. So if he can get anywhere close to that, I think we're in for a 20-wicket season for Jai Richo, so long as his shoulder can hold out, because that's the risk, isn't it? That he cops a bit of an injury, pops his shoulder out again and can't get it back in anywhere near as easy as he did the other day. So, yeah, there is always the injury risk, but at that price, I think you can't ignore that.
No, given that it came out giving someone a high five, I can't imagine it'd be too hard to get back in.
Yes, it's pretty loose in there, I would assume. And yes, you could throw a few different jokes in there about what I just said, but we'll move on very quickly. James Bazley is number 1, and I bet you didn't think I'll be saying that. Batsman, bowler, dual position, 58K cheapie. The two petition to bring back Brisbane Heat James Bazley, please.
Yeah, well, in the 2 years prior to last year, he averaged 53.5 and 51.5 in his full 2 seasons there. So if he's playing, tick, next.
Oh, man, I would love that. He's priced at a 20. That is 1 wicket. So, if he gets a game, that's the question. That's a big caveat here, is that if he does get picked in their starting 11. Now, there could be a lot of different things that change between now and the start. At the moment, I don't have him in the squad, purely because now Jamie Overton bowling has probably changed my outlook on what this team looks like. I think they might go an extra batsman rather than looking at James Bazley. But in saying that, I really hope he finds his way into this team, because he is an automatic pick for me on the bench if he's named in round 1.
I think I'm going to go against you on this one, Braino. I think with Overton bowling, and then we've got Thornton, and then you think of other quicks that they've got there. They've got no Wes Agar this year. They've got no David Payne. He can also hold a stick. I can very much see him bowling second change, getting his 3 overs in, 4 overs if he's bowling well, batting at 8, free swing of the willow. He can he can use the stick quite well. We've seen him in grade cricket making 50s and 100s. So I'm going to go against you here. I think he starts round 1.
I think they play Buckingham if he's fit, and I think maybe Brendan Doggett could also potentially play before James Bazley.
Yeah, right. You think Doggett's in before Bazley?
I think so, just because,
Okay.
look, they've got Fabian Allen batting at 7. They've got a million spinners, and they really kind of just I feel like they'd play the specialist quick over playing a guy who bowls a bit of part-time pace and bats 8. You know, that I don't know. I just feel like maybe they'll lean towards a specialist quick as opposed to going to Bazley. But
Okay.
I mean, if they want to, do they need the depth in the batting? They're already that good.
They're
good.
good.
They've also got Alex Ross, who I think could probably fit in there and replace Ollie Pope, who's a nice little replacement there in the middle of the order. It's tough because, yeah, they've got so many different all-rounder options that it's hard to know which way they want to go. Are they going to play 2 spinners is another question. Because then he could fit in. They could play James Bazley instead if they're only going to play one of Boyce or Pope. So
especially if they've got
guess is as good as mine.
The shorts who can both bowl spin. Matt better than Darcy.
And Fabian Allen, who can also bowl spin if he doesn't get picked for West Indies.
Maybe just give him the gloves because Harry Nielsen, he's not getting a gig.
Give me the gloves, mate. I'll fucking have a little campaign, I reckon, for one game if they need me.
Vote 1, Nathan Brain.
Yes, that's me. Just So, but anyway, look, if James Bazley plays, you have to pick him just at that price.
Absolutely.
The role will be good enough for him regardless. But guys, that is the list of 10. Now, of course, it'd be remiss of us not to mention our Patreon, because we're cooking up some serious content in there.
Yeah.
How can people get involved in the Patreon, mate, and get access to that content?
Well, it'll be in the description below. So you can click the link and it'll put you through to our Patreon webpage. You can join for free. So you can see the free articles that we're putting in there, the videos that we're putting in there for free. And it's not just BBL. If you like other sports, AFL hasn't started yet, but it's about to kick off. NRL, there'll be plenty of content on NRL. The NBL boys, Matrix, Hammer, and the likes, they're doing some good content in there. The NFL boys are doing a ripping job as well. So there's plenty going on. And the NBA guys. Who can forget about the NBA guys? G, Skiddy, Mally, awesome crew.
Ace, yes. And, you know, there's different options in there. It only costs you about a cup of coffee a month to get access to all of this stuff as well. So cheap as chips. And if you wanted to support the podcast, it goes a long way to us being able to improve the things that we're doing
100%.
from week to week as well at Insight Fantasy Sports. So get involved in the Patreon, get access to all of the extra stuff. We're doing heaps of different articles and some exclusive episodes that will be on there and not on YouTube as well. So stay tuned for that, as well as our live Q&A for all of our Patreon subscribers every single round as well that we won't be doing on YouTube. So plenty of value in there for next to nothing. So like Horse said, join for free, see what it's all about. And if you think it's worth your money, jump on in and get involved and take your Supercoach game to the next level. But mate, that'll do us, hey? Plenty to unpack there from our best 10 undervalued players there. Plenty of money to make this season. But we've got a pods and anti-pods episode coming up soon, don't we?
Yeah, I can't wait for that. We did a bit of digging there and we found some pretty spicy stuff that the ladies and gentlemen at home are going to want to know prior to round 1 starting.
Absolutely. Well, guys, that's the list. Get these guys in your team. Don't forget, hit subscribe, hit like, follow, review, and follow us on socials. Leave us 5-star review. We'll catch you next time. Have a good one.
See ya.